Hi Aquarius, I hope that you're all doing well. We're here with a timeless reading. Welcome. The first card that we have out is the World. The World is a symbol of completion. It can mean that you've just finished something, but it can also be like starting something. It can be both of those things too, where you're like, I finished with that chapter, I'm starting this new one. To start off with the World, this is like the very beginning of something, which means potentially that something has recently closed out that will now allow you to start doing this, whatever it may be. I'm seeing Ace of Wands, so there's an opportunity right in front of you, and you have done what you needed to do in order for this to be possible. So that means, like, let's say, like, metaphorically speaking, right? You graduated from something, and so having the Ace of Wands here is like, now that I graduated, like now that I have these credentials, I can move towards this other thing. Like for some of you, like maybe this is actually happening with like schooling and stuff. This doesn't have to be the only thing, or like training of some sort, but definitely can mean so many other things. Like you can feel like on a personal level, you've completed a lesson that now like brings about an opportunity for you, or you've learned something, accomplished something. To have us starting with Saturn here, this shows like actual practical skills that have been gained. And it can also mean too that you're done with something. Like I'm done like living here, or like I've paid my rent for the rest of the year, or whatever. So now I'm gonna be going over there. It can be like stuff like that. This opportunity is going to be one where you feel you can really show up with something that you'd like to show up with. You may be feeling a little bit lethargic right now, though. Like, you can know that this door is in front of you, but having the Four of Cups can be a feeling of, like, you could be feeling tired. You could know that something good is in front of you, too, and have this feeling like you need to maybe catch up in some other sense or some other way. Like maybe you feel emotionally fatigued or energetically fatigued, something like that. Ooh, actually, I'm not seeing it be about that. I'm seeing Nine of Swords on the bottom of the deck. Okay, something has been accomplished, right? So that means that things have been, there aren't loose ends in this sense. You have like tied up the loose ends. This thing that's in front of you, as far as like what this is, this door that's opening this opportunity, I am seeing this be something that if you, to have Nine of Swords on the bottom of the deck associated with Four of Cups, your ego may be telling you that you're not into this only because of a sense of fear or intimidation, like those types of things. So this opportunity can be something that there's a lot of potential here, but it may be bringing up fear for you. And because of fear, anxiety, thoughts that you're having a difficult time working with, like those sorts of things, because it's static, even because it's bringing those things up for you, you may be sort of like battling that, so to speak, however it is that you're seeing yourself sort of like dealing with this. And that may be bringing you to a place where you're actually feeling like not super enthusiastic about it, but I'm getting that this is like specifically based in something feeling like scary to you in some way. See, this can be like bringing up fear. You can feel like something's coming towards you, you know, and that can be feeling intense. I'm seeing something starting to like creep up, but this feels more of like an ungrounded energy. This doesn't feel like it's based in like a sense of empowerment for you. So that's just something to be mindful of, like what station you're tuned to. And being aware of that, even if you're not gonna, even if you feel like I don't know how to change it right now, just being aware of sort of like the frequency of the channel that you're tuned to can be helpful. Because yes, it is real, like on one plane, and then on another one, it's like that's just like a perspective. It's just a channel. It's just a narrative. So it can give you some objectivity, like some insight. Four of Cups can be time that you need to emotionally recover. You could feel like you're not up for something. You could also feel worried for some of you. You may also feel like something in front of you would be like a lot of work, but you can also just feel like dealing with yourself, like emotionally or mentally, is the hard work. So you could feel like that's mainly what you're dealing with, which isn't even this main thing associated with the opportunity. It's sort of like how your mind is connecting with this and narrating currently. It looks like this is soon to end though. Yeah. I wouldn't write this thing off that's in front of you yet. It seems like needing to deal with the like mental health aspect of this first before you do anything with that specifically. This opportunity. I'm seeing Queen of Cups come out, and this Queen of Cups is about sort of like sitting in your emotions and becoming connected through that. So it's like, let me just actually feel how I'm feeling right now and not need to do anything about that. Let me just like recognize what's going on, and it's sort of swimming around within that and feeling it out. And also like warming up, I guess, to the way that you're feeling too, where there's not this. Sometimes when we feel things that are uncomfortable or overwhelming, we can have that feeling of like wanting to shut it down as quickly as possible, or like run out of there as quickly as possible. And I think this is more like, let me just sit still for right now. I'm seeing that's going to help get you centered and focused. So that's the suggestion currently. It may be a lot to sit with, but it's something that it's like a moment where you're feeling a bunch of things, and you could feel like you're getting emotional downloads, those types of things, energetic downloads, and you could be like, this is overwhelming, it's too much, I don't feel like I'm in the place to be able to deal with this. But then I'm seeing by you sitting in this, like everything's gonna integrate. I don't think you really need to do anything except just like be with this. And then you're gonna get used to like the water, energetically, emotionally speaking. I'm seeing something interesting here happening where it's like at first you almost forget about this part of yourself, but then when you sit with your emotions, I'm seeing you start to resonate with that like ability that you have to sit within that and to feel those things. So at first it can be like, this is a very foreign concept to me, but then when I'm seeing you sit within it, it ends up being something that you feel is actually very natural to you. But because of the onset, the intensity, when it first happens, you may feel thrown off by that, but that's why it's even more of a reason to try to sit within this and not be reactive to it. Otherwise, it's going to like create more chaos. So you just like sitting calmly within this. Calmly meaning just like you don't need to take action. Like just being with it. That's all. Being present within it. It's going to help you with the current hurdle you may be feeling that you're facing. Perceiving. There can be like an avoidance of sitting within this. Because I'm seeing it be like, when I open myself up to the emotions, when you as the Queen of Cups, right? Like when we open ourselves up to those emotions, it's like a lot of things are going to be coming in. And they can be things that feel like scary to be coming in. It can feel intimidating to be experiencing that. You can feel like things are creeping in, but I really do feel like letting things emotionally wash over you. I get more of like, these cards feel so opposite to me, where when you're sitting within your mental energy and it's ungrounded, telling yourself like the scariest things, like that's what's coming through, and that may be what you were clinging on to. But this card feels, let me just move this, I have a candle over here. but this card feels like so calm. You see this person just like in the water emotionally. This is a Queen of Cups. So this is you touching base with that like emotional, intuitive part of yourself, the receptivity that is you. So I think too that this is about sort of switching from I'm just trying to rationalize, or I'm just thinking, and then feeling like you're stuck in your head. This feels like moving into like a feeling space rather than a thinking space, and to be present in that, and to not need to like form some sort of mental narrative about it, but to just be within it. So I don't need to think about this. I just can sit in here and feel this, like that type of thing. Because I think every time you're switching into your air energy, where it's like, let me think about this some more, I think you're just freaking yourself out. Because I think too, when you're actually just in this space where you're sitting and feeling, you look calm over here. But when you're sitting over here, like in the mental engagement, it just seems like not the time to be signing on. Like right now is the time to be feeling things rather than leaning into the air energy. So it's also about navigating too. Because the water energy, when you're in your Queen of Cups energy, that's also connected with your wisdom as well. Where like you don't need to know word for word certain things. It's more about a feeling rather than a thought. And there's so much wisdom within that because of how intuitive it is as well. Even though sometimes we can think like being in the brain is everything, right? I think that this is about sort of changing the tune in a way. Just like logging on in a different way. In a way that's going to seem more, what's the word that I'm looking for? It seems like when you're going into the mental space right now, it may be something that feels disturbing to you. Disturbing. But when you are shifting into just the feeling without needing to bring the mental component into that, like when you're just sitting within your heart space, it feels more tranquil. Because the water energy is something that's like a space that's connected with healing and whatnot. Soothing. The water is soothing. And so I think that you're going to find that right now. There are like so many different levels, right? We can be in our earth energy, which is more practical of like, I need to do this, this, and this. When you're in your fire energy, it's more about like what you're getting done. Earth energy is like, what am I investing in, okay? Your fire energy is like more about what you're doing. Your water energy is like what you're feeling and what you're sensing and connecting to. And it's about like healing and soothing and those types of things, and like expression through a softer type of creativity. One that even feels like there's almost like you're receptive, like a channel to those sorts of things. And then with the air, that's more of your like logical, rational, like let me analyze. It's like those types of things. What you're going to find specifically is that like there's an opportunity for you to participate in something that you can do, but needing to lean into and get accustomed to what it is that you're feeling before you get into this. It's like needing to get right emotionally before you walk through this door where things are going to be expected of you. And because of that offset right now, because of needing to balance something emotionally for yourself, it's also creating this issue mentally, and that's where it's coming from. So that's why there's that feeling of struggling. And even though mentally you can feel like, well, because I'm feeling it in a mental way and that feels like that's where the problem is, that's also how I'm going to solve it. But it's like the issue is in your head, and also too like needing to be a level higher than that in order to resolve this. It's actually resolving something emotionally, and it's needing to just sit with your feelings. So this isn't going to be like a mental solution here. This is an emotional one, it's a feeling one, it's a water one. So that's why this is what you're meant to be leaning into. Even though you can see it coming out in a mental way, actually, like, the basis of this is emotional. And it's needing to actually sit with what you're feeling. It's like you're seeing the symptom of it be something that's mental, so then you can be like, okay, it's a mental thing, and like that's what the problem is, but I'm actually seeing it derive within your water energy, which is like your feelings and stuff like that. So that's actually the root of it, even though the symptom is a mental one, okay? If there is anything that you're doing right now that you feel is making things worse mentally for you, where it's like feeding into fear, feeding into anxiety, feeding into a feeling of like things aren't going to be okay, that type of stuff, things that are like having you feel like panicking and stuff like that, disconnect from those things. It can be like social influences, it can be news, it can be really like anything that you're ingesting energetically. It can also be physically too. Those may be some things that right now you sort of distance yourself from, because it may be like feeding into this for you, and that's not something you necessarily want to be feeding right now. I'm hearing be mindful of the reflection. Okay, Two of Wands, Four of Swords. This means that there's sort of like a plan that's going to be happening, but you may put a pause on it just for a moment. So it can be like, I need to take a couple minutes right now. I need to take a couple days right now. I need to take a couple weeks right now, but then I'm going to resume this. So I'm seeing there be sort of a tentative plan that when you're ready, you're going to hit the resume, but I'm seeing for now there be a pause on things. That's going to work for you. Do not feel like there is a rush. There is not a rush. You are always right. When especially when you are like really tuning in and listening to like the flow of things for yourself, of like, what am I feeling? Is this like really the time to do this, or am I panicking and rushing myself into it? If you can tap in and be like, I don't feel up to it right now, or I need time to do this right now, or I need to recharge right now. If you're really tapped into that and listening to it and doing things accordingly, you are going to continue to feel and see and observe things happening exactly at the right time. It's a complete organizing principle to listen to that. You're going to see things synchronistically confirm that for you. It can be something as little, let me just use like a very almost trivial seeming example. It can be something like you have somewhere to be and you're getting ready to go, and you're like, oh, I really want to use the bathroom before I go rather than have to do it when I get there. And there's that part of you that comes from that space of anxiety and other things where it's like, I should leave right now and ignore this thing that I'm feeling that I need, or even like grab a bite of something to eat before you go. And then you'll find that if you listen to that, what happens is that like you'll show up to the place, and like whoever you were meeting shows up at exactly the same time that you do. So if you would have ignored that and then showed up on time anyway, that other person would have been like 5 minutes late. It's just stuff like that you're going to see when you are hearing like some type of calling, whether it be like physically, mentally, emotionally, like your body is tired, you need a break, you don't feel like doing it today, or you do feel like doing it today, or something changes and you're adapting to it, you're going to find that if that's really what's true for you and you're aligning to that, other things are going to just naturally fall into place in that way. So even though your anxiety is going to be like, it needs to be done because this is going to happen and this other thing, and then what if that thing doesn't work over there, what are we going to do about that? And you're really like moving around to the tune of that, you're going to find that it just creates more friction and more anxiety, and you're going to feel out of touch and out of flow with things. But when you're moving to a rhythm that's coming from a place that feels more intuitive and doesn't have those aspects of fear motivating it, you are going to find that things really continue to fall into place. And if you're not ready to take like a big leap of faith, start doing it in small ways and see how it ends up working. Because you will. It's just about tuning in and listening. And also too, like when you're getting a feeling about doing something, checking in and being like, is this coming from a place of like worry or anxiety? Or is this coming from a place of like, I'm feeling a need that's coming up for myself? Or it's coming from a place of inspiration? Or it's coming from a place of joy, you know? You're finding your inspiration again, is what I'm seeing. Having Four of Cups and having the Magician is like, I feel like I'm not connected with that part of myself that wants to create currently, and also, but that doesn't mean that you don't want this opportunity that's in front of you, okay? I'm seeing there be a plan that's being made, but it's like, this is not for right now. So this is a plan that's being made for, I'm gonna do this like and then after 2 days, or I'm gonna do this after like this amount of time. It's like that type of thing. So I'm seeing something that this opportunity, you're not pushing it away or anything. I'm just seeing you be like, put a pause on this right now because I need to focus in, because it's like you're trying to find this sense of inspiration. Having Four of Cups and having the Magician is like, the Magician is all about like creating, and I want to do this and I want to manifest that. It's like finding your fuel, because you may feel like you're out of fuel currently. So instead of trying to force yourself into this, it's actually listening to that and then meeting your needs accordingly. For some of you though, this may be something that's difficult because it may feel like more of an emotional or energetic thing. So even though you can be like, well, I got a normal amount of sleep last night, or I've been eating this, or I haven't been feeling extremely stressed, but for some reason I'm just feeling lethargic. It's recognizing that that's just as real, even if your other stuff may be as usual for you. And that this is also something very real that needs to be tended to. Even if you can't physically see it, it's about tuning into that part of yourself and feeling it. And knowing it's just as legitimate, it's just as valid as any other needs that you have. Okay, some of you, you're also dealing with this sense of like guilt or disappointment that you may be feeling like within yourself. It's like this part of you, right, that just wants to create for the sake of creating, that just wants to express for the sake of expressing. There's this part of you that you're putting a lot of expectations on, this part of you that is not meant to be judged in that way. This is reminding me of a quote by Rick Rubin where he's talking about the things that we create, whether this be like a painting in front of you or it just has to do with the canvas of your life, where he talks about the creative process and framing it as if it's like a diary entry. And how when you're writing a diary entry, you're not thinking about like, is it good or is it bad? Or like other people's opinions on it are irrelevant because it's true to you. It's your story and it's your creation. And so you don't even like put it in that category of, is my diary entry good enough? You know, like that type of thing. So you may be adopting some type of perspective that has to do with what wants to be expressed through you and created through you just because it does, rather than needing it to be anything than what it is and what it wants to be. Because there can be this part of you that's putting so many expectations of like, it needs to live up to this, or it needs to stand up to that, or I want to get this type of reaction from this, or it needs to do that. And then you're like losing this sense of motivation because you are judging it in a way that's tied to external validation and needing it to be something other than what it is. And then feeling stressed out by that. So you may have a lot of that, like I'm feeling really disappointed in myself, or I'm looking at that other person over there and I don't feel like my work stands up to that. You know, it can be like those types of things. Or like their life looks like that and my life looks like this, you know, whatever it is. Or like my parents were blah, blah, blah at this point in time. Anything that you may be looking at that comes just from this, like this very pure part of yourself that's like, I want to draw circles all day and that's what I want to do. And then there's this other part of yourself that's narrating things like that's not acceptable. So this is something that you're working with within yourself. And I think also coming to terms with some things as well. I think acceptance too of like the type of creator that you are as well. That may be something too, if you're giving it a label like that. Just in the form of self-acceptance, more so. And I think too that you're gonna find that when you're sitting in your emotions, that may be something that you had been avoiding, you're gonna find that that's really where your inspiration comes from. So ironically, that's how you tap into that endless, bottomless well of inspiration. Sitting in that place that you had been avoiding sitting in. So you go from feeling like this, which is like, I have nothing to give right now. Like, I don't want to even get out of bed. I don't even want to get off the couch. To then this. Like, you see these cups, how they're empty over here? And this is like what you're supposed to be drawing your inspiration from. And then when you sit in this, it's like, this is endless and this is so vast. So that's what's happening. That's what I'm seeing. You're definitely going to be getting back into the swing of things. I'm seeing Queen of Wands on the bottom of the deck. So it really feels like as soon as you lift this off of yourself, like this sense of self-judgment and a lack of acceptance for exactly as things are right now, it should be different. I should be over there. That person's doing that over there. Like all of these things, and you just allow yourself to create in the way that you create. You're going to be reconnecting with this part of yourself that's ready to express itself because you're not putting all these conditions on it anymore. Okay, my friends, we are going to leave the reading here at 27:44. I would like to thank everyone for connecting. Thank you for tuning in. I'm sending everybody love, and I hope to catch you guys next time.